she's alone in the bathroom, getting ready. She looks into the mirror. The mirror looks back, and then it speaks. Wrinkles, moderate. Pores, enlarged. Skin age, 39. Skin age, 39? She's only 30. She's 30. 30. She looks at herself. Same face, same light. Something has changed in the room. So today we're talking about a product from Samsung, and this is the Micro LED Beauty Mirror. And for those of you who are like, oh, I don't care about beauty mirrors, I urge you to stick around because it gets a little bit weird when something externalizes something internal. But this product was announced at CES last year, and it won the award for the best innovative beauty and personal care product. And Samsung has confirmed its commercial release this year, 2026. And it uses 3 cameras, which utilize UV light as well as polarized light. And the data has been trained on around 450,000 different skin cases. Now, normal Bianca would ask the question, what color skin tone? Hopefully the data was balanced and all that kind of stuff. But I'm not going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about something a little bit more philosophical here. But that's still a point to note. So what does this mirror actually do? Well, one of its functionalities is it has the ability to analyze your pores, your redness, your pigmentation, your wrinkles, all in real time when you're looking at yourself in said mirror. And then it connects itself directly to product recommendations based upon your skin. So saying that you are like 39, your skin age looks 39, it's gonna give you some anti-wrinkle cream, like literally a product would pop up there. How infuriating is that a little bit, no? And it just literally works by standing in front of it, it reads your face, and then it gives you some sort of output. There is a version of this software that is like available as an app on your phones. You can use it from your camera. And obviously you can see it's tailored to a certain degree to the population that wears makeup, which is mostly women. And then it analyzes all the things and again recommends you products. And there's over 400 million people have used Perfect Corp's skin analysis technology across different apps, different brands, everything. That's the owner of this technology behind it. And then now, this is now being put into Samsung mirrors. And here, the mirror has become, to a certain degree, a diagnostic device, which means the bathroom has become a little bit of a clinic. Now, there's a caveat here, and I am not 100% sure on the answer to this. For now, I don't know if it does other types of analysis, like moles and stuff for skin cancer. So I'm going to focus on wrinkles and that kind of stuff for today's episode. But there can be another argument made that something that potentially looks at your face every single day and says you've had skin cancer might also be a good thing. There's also another side of things that I want to acknowledge here. That I am not going to talk about, but should probably talk about one day, is that a mirror in a bathroom is usually in a place in which someone is in an incredibly vulnerable state, i.e. they're naked. Which means data being sent or data, having anything smart in smart technology that can do data, that can send to servers, whatever, is already an icky thing for me just because of the nakedness of people and where does that data go and the security around that. So that's also a thing that people should consider. If you get any smart mirrors, please consider that. But I'm not going to talk about that today. I'm going to talk about what happens to the self when something else is assessing it. Mirrors kind of only really had one functionality in their existence, and that was to show things from, we're not going to go into mirror mechanics, but it was just a reflection of you and the other things that it showcases. It never had an opinion. The opinion was always of the observer, which is the person looking at their reflection of what they saw. And that judgment, it was yours. And it was shaped by your mood, your history of the day, or your sleep last night, or what you had to do for the rest of the day. And you could revise it. And after some tweaking and whatever, you're like, you know what, it looks fine after all, I'm not that upset. The AI mirror is the first mirror now that has an opinion about what it reflects. Because it's not just a reflection, it's an assessment. So there's something that happens to you when you become aware of being seen. Before that said moment of being seen by another, you're in your head, you're navigating through life, you're experiencing things kind of from the inside out. You know, I think you can, like, imagine yourself going for a walk. You're in your head, you're noticing that, you're seeing that, you're feeling the sun on you. Those are very much an internal, external feeling. But the moment you feel, and I said feel on purpose here, someone else's eyes on you, like you see them see you, you suddenly become aware of yourself from the outside. You see yourself as they might see you. You stop being a subject of your own experiences and become, briefly, an object in someone else's. Jean-Paul Sartre, who is a philosopher, quite an old dude, but he wrote about this in a few many years ago. He called it le regard, and the translation or the interpretation of it is the gaze. And his argument was when you become aware of someone else looking at you, something shifts in how you experience yourself. You stop being the subject, as I said before. The same, like the idea of the self moving through the world from your internal experiences. And you become the object in someone else's perception. The gaze, his idea, it required another consciousness, another person, actually being there. His student Lacan, who is I find a very difficult philosopher to read, took this idea a little bit further. And he'd argued that this gaze could be triggered by an object too. So not another conscious person. So like that any sense of being watched by anything could produce the same shift in your head. You become aware of yourself from the outside. You see yourself as something to be assessed. And a very, very small example of this is when you see someone else filming you, you immediately question, why are you filming me? What's going on? What is this? Whatever. That immediate trigger there, that's kind of what Lacan was talking about. And if we go back to our Samsung AI mirror here, it produces a verdict about you. The skin age, a score, whatever you want to call it. Like a list of things that require treatment. And it comes across as an authority of an external judgment. And there's no consciousness behind it. At least I believe. If you believe AI is consciousness, then the same argument, the discussion here, it doesn't change. Because something is still shifting in you. Because you're observing this number on the thing, and then you look at your face, and the mirror has already decided on like what it's found and what's wrong and what's good and whatever. But you start seeing yourself through that decision. Because if it tells me that I have wrinkles, I'm like, I am getting old, you're right, I can see it. And there's research on this, of like self-objectification. And it confirms what this type of looking at oneself produces over time. A 2020 study published in like Body Image Journal found that receiving appearance-based feedback, regardless of whether it was positive or negative feedback, heightened the participants' state of self-objectification. It was the notion of feedback itself, not the content of the feedback, that produced this like mental shift. People began to see themselves from the outside, to monitor and assess their appearance in a way an outsider would. And this might not be novel to many people today, because we are sharing so much of ourselves. Like people use Snapchat all the time. You're taking a picture of yourself and you're seeing yourself there. Like, as we've moved into technology, this is maybe not a new weird thing that we're experiencing just because of how much we share of ourselves on cameras. But for those of you who don't, which is actually probably a majority of the population, this might be something novel. What that study found is this AI mirror doesn't have to be harsh. It doesn't have to say the negative things. It could say, wow, Bianca, your skin is looking so lush, or whatever. Your skin age is 24. And you're like, But the act of receiving a verdict, whether it's, oh, your skin is good or your skin is bad, about my face in a private experience with just me and a mirror is enough to install this gaze in ourselves, like probably first thing in the morning. So the question then becomes, what does this verdict do to us if we look at it, or we get it every single morning when we wake up, almost before you've decided how you feel about today? Like before you've looked at your face and come to the conclusion, yo, that was a rough night. Something else already has an opinion before you can do that. Well, you can make the argument that it's just data, information, objective. And knowing your skin health is no different to knowing your blood pressure. And I would agree and say that there is, I would entertain that argument. Because the mirror isn't explicitly saying you are ugly. It tells you that your pore condition is moderate and your wrinkles are stronger than usual. But what we should consider here is some of the research into this like self-objectification state found that this repeated exposure to this type of thing, especially about appearance, changed the experience of how they see their own face. And that seems obvious, right? If someone keeps telling you, yo, your wrinkles are getting stronger and stronger and stronger for a month on end, you eventually start looking at yourself and all you see are those wrinkles. Especially when someone else is telling it to you and you don't notice it beforehand. And in the past, before, barring, let's say you don't have this mirror, like how I see my face, obviously there are insecurities and everyone has them, but that is mine to deal with and mine alone. And usually you'd be like, oh, but nobody sees that. You just highlight it for yourself. Yes, and it was mine. It was only really me that sat in my head that judged my appearance. And then looking at those things on a daily basis and judging, oh, how do I feel? Oh, my insecurities are less or more, whatever. That lived in my head. It was all an internal metric. And what I want to highlight here is that the decision was always yours as to how you were going to navigate it. And now, when there's something else telling you that straight away in the middle, like the beginning of the day, it's very difficult for you to put it aside and be like, oh, it's fine. I don't need to I'm not going anywhere today. I'm staying inside. I don't need to care about this right now. I can look whatever. That is a narrative in many people's day, I guess. But when there's another thing telling you that, how does it affect that day? All the other days when you do go see people, it's a mismatch between what you feel and what this mirror thinks, but it just feels like it can scale badly. I don't have much more of a psychological insight towards this. But there's some alarms going on in my head here that I think I need to think about deeper, and people that are developing this should also think about deeper, right? Or am I just blowing this out of proportion? So, effectively what I want to highlight here is, or what I'm questioning is, do we need to put technology in everything? And obvious answer is no, we don't need to do it. But when we do it, what does it do to ourselves and how we exist in the world? And I think those things need to be considered before we just build tech. Because yes, like I said, if this can go into skin cancer and all this kind of stuff, it might be a really good, helpful tool. Yes. But what is it doing on like a scale? And by scale, I mean mass population, but I also mean me on a daily basis. What is it doing, like externalizing my perception of self? What does that do? And I don't explicitly know all the answers to that, but it's something that I think we should consider. And it's the running theme here is that we develop technology and then we seem to question what it's doing to us and then adjust from there instead of figuring out what it would do to us and then build the technology. Anyway, I don't know. But let me get on with my day. I'll check you guys tomorrow. Well, in 2 days, actually, now, with my new upload schedule. So